All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going to break down the fundamental concepts of elections and representation to get you totally exam ready. Let's dive in.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with the basic rules of the game. Then, we'll look at direct versus indirect democracy. After that, we're doing a deep dive into the two heavy hitters, first past the post and proportional representation, putting them head to head, and then wrapping it all up with a lightning-fast recap of everything you need to know.
Okay, first things first. Before we can even get into the nitty-gritty of voting systems, we have to ask a basic question. Why do we even need rules for elections anyway?
Just imagine it for a second. Picture a game of cricket where players just decide to make up their own rules as they go. Or a game of chess where your opponent suddenly decides their pawn can move like a queen. It would be total chaos, right? The game would be completely meaningless, and nobody would accept the outcome as being fair.
Well, democratic elections are pretty much the same, except the stakes are way, way higher. You've got to have a rule book that everyone agrees on and an impartial umpire to enforce it, and in a country, that ultimate rule book is the Constitution. All right, so we've got our rule book, but how do we, you and me, the citizens, actually get in on the action and make our voices heard in the game of government?
There are basically two ways this can go. First, you've got direct democracy. This is where every single citizen participates directly in making every single decision. Think of those ancient Greek city-states. It's a neat idea, but can you even imagine trying to get all 1.4 billion people in India to vote on every little law? It's just impossible. And that's exactly why huge modern countries like ours use an indirect democracy, where we elect representatives to make those big decisions for us.
And this brings us to a huge one, a term you absolutely positively have to nail for your exams: representation. It's the whole method, the whole system by which we elect people to act on our behalf. Seriously, this concept is the bedrock of modern democracy.
So we're choosing representatives. But how? Let's dig into the first major system, and this one's super important because it's the one used for Lok Sabha elections right here in India.
It's called first past the post, or FPTP for short. And honestly, the name tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Just think of it like a horse race. The winner isn't the horse that wins by the biggest margin. It's just the first one to cross the finish line. In politics, that means the candidate who gets more votes than anyone else in their area, their constituency, wins the seat. It's that simple. And remember this other name for it, it might pop up: the plurality system.
But here's the thing. This super simple system, it can lead to some really wild results that make people scratch their heads. This was an actual reaction to the 1984 election in India. How on earth does a party get less than half the country's support but walk away with more than 80% of the power?
Okay, check out the numbers from that very election. You've got the Congress Party with 48% of the total vote. Now, look at the number of seats they won. A massive 415. Now compare that to the BJP. They got a pretty decent 7.4% of the vote across the country, but that translated into only 2 seats. That just feels off, right?
Let's put that in a picture because it really makes it clear. See that? Even in what was considered a historic landslide victory, the winning party still got less than half of all the votes cast. In fact, more people voted against them than for them.
And this chart just nails the powerful, almost magical effect of the FPTP system. How does 48% of the vote turn into over 76% of the seats in Parliament? Well, it's because in every single little race, in every constituency, all the votes for the losing candidates just disappear. They don't count towards anything in the final tally. You could win a seat with just 30% of the vote, as long as you're the one with the most votes.
Okay, so that's one way to do it. Now let's flip the script and look at a totally different approach: proportional representation, or PR.
The whole idea behind proportional representation is baked right into the name. It's all about being, proportional. The goal is super simple. If your party gets 20% of the country's votes, it should get about 20% of the seats in Parliament. It just makes intuitive sense, right?
So let's see this in the real world. Here's data from Israel's 2015 election, where they use a PR system. Just look at the numbers. The Likud party got about 23% of the vote, and they ended up with 30 seats. The Zionist camp got just under 19% of the vote, and they got 24 seats. See how much closer those percentages and seat numbers are?
And when you put it on a chart, man, the difference is night and day. Just look at how those bars, the vote percentage and the seat percentage, are almost mirrors of each other for each party. The whole parliament ends up looking like a much more accurate snapshot of what the voters actually wanted, including all the smaller parties. All right, so we've seen both systems in action. Let's put them in the ring, head-to-head, and see how they score on the things that really matter for a democracy. And here's the big takeaway, the thing you really gotta get. Neither system is perfect. They're just designed to do different jobs. FPTP? It's awesome at creating a clear winner and a stable government. Plus, you know exactly who your one local representative is. The downside? Yeah, it can feel super unfair, and millions of votes kind of get wasted. PR, on the other hand, is incredibly fair to parties of all sizes, but it often leads to these messy coalition governments that can be a bit shaky, and that direct link between you and your representative gets a lot weaker.
Whew. Okay, that was a lot. So let's do a super quick, rapid-fire recap to lock in all these key terms. You're going to need these for your exams, for sure.
Ready? Let's do this. Direct democracy, everybody votes on everything. Indirect democracy, we vote for people to vote for us. That whole system is called representation. The area you vote in, that's your constituency. The winner-takes-all race is first past the post. And the system where vote share equals seat share, that's proportional representation. Got it? Good. If you know those, you're in great shape.
And that really brings us to the big question at the heart of it all. There's no easy answer here, just a series of trade-offs. What's more important for a country's democracy? The stability that comes from having a clear winner, or the absolute fairness that makes sure every single group's voice is heard in proportion to its support?
Hey, if this explainer helped clear things up for you, do us a huge favor. Like, share, and definitely subscribe to the A1 Institute channel. We'll have more content coming your way to get you prepped for your next exam. Thanks for watching.